This is part of a series of videos intended to spread knowledge about geographical place names. Knowing geographical toponyms can be useful for history, anthropology, linguistics, and making you feel like the smartest person in the room. This is the Mediterranean Sea, situated between Africa, Europe, and Asia. The name means in the middle of land. In Arabic and Turkish, it is also known as the White Sea. To the west, it meets the Atlantic Ocean at the Strait of Gibraltar. To the east, after crossing the Dardanelles, also known as Gallipoli, it joins the Sea of Marmara, and then the Black Sea. The Mediterranean is divided by the Strait of Sicily into east and west. Each half has a number of its own subdivisions. To better describe those subdivisions, I will point out a few key features. The Iberian Peninsula is to the west and has a unique, almost square-like shape. In the center is the Italian, otherwise known as Apennine Peninsula, which is usually compared to a boot. To the east is the huge and geographically diverse Balkan Peninsula. Within the southernmost part of the Balkans is nested a smaller peninsula known as the Peloponnese or Morea. With some basic place names, we can now take a closer look at the Mediterranean's seas. Sandwiched between North Africa and South Iberia is the Alboran Sea. Following up the Iberian coast is the Balearic Sea. Two small bodies separate Iberia and Italy, the Gulf of Lions to the west, and the Ligurian Sea, also known as the Gulf of Genoa, to the east. Resting on the west coast of Italy is the Tyrrhenian, associated with the ancient Etruscans. Now, moving through the Strait of Sicily southwards, we meet the Gulf of Gabes on the North African coast. Following the same coast to the east is the Gulf of Sidra. To the north of us now, between the Balkan Peninsula and southernmost Italy, is the Ionian Sea. The smaller body of water right underneath the Italian boot is the Gulf of Tartano. Rounding the coast now, the only thing separating Italy from the Balkan Peninsula is the Strait of Otranto, north of which is the Adriatic Sea. Moving back into the Ionian, we travel across the Peloponnese into the Aegean Sea, the southernmost part of which is also known as the Sea of Crete. Moving north through the archipelagos of the Aegean Sea, we meet the Dardanelles. Moving back through the Aegean once again and far to the east, now bordering Asia, we encounter a part of the Mediterranean sometimes called the Levantine Sea. Now that we've explored the subdivisions of the Mediterranean, we can take a closer look at the islands within it. In the Balearic Sea, off the east coast of Iberia, we find the Balearic Islands, the largest of which are Majorca, Minorca, Ibiza, and Formentera. Together, Ibiza and Formentera form a smaller archipelago, known as the Pityases, with Pitya meaning pine tree in Greek, in reference to the island's pine forests. To the east of us, south of the Ligurian Sea, are the islands of Corsica and Sardinia, which are separated from each other by the Strait of Bonifacio. Next, we travel into the Tyrrhenian, host to dozens of islands. The Tuscan archipelago is the northernmost one, which is also the home of Elba. Further down the Italian coast are the much smaller Pontine and Campanian archipelagos. Moving directly south now, we meet the island of Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean. Sicily is separated from Italy by the Strait of Messina. Small archipelagos sit all around it. To the north, we see the Aeolian Islands. To the west are the Egadian Islands. To the southwest sits Pantelleria, and to the south are the Maltese Islands, which include Malta and Gozo. Moving south, back into the Gulf of Gabes, we find the Kerkennah Islands, as well as the island of Jerba. We'll now leave the African coast and move quickly into the Adriatic, home to over 1,000 islands, most of which are situated on the Balkan coast. The southernmost group of islands is known as the Elafiti. The rest of these are not traditionally grouped into archipelagos. The largest of them are Kirk, Tres, Brach, Far, and Pag. Now, we exit the Adriatic and move south into the Ionian, where, still on the Balkan coast, we find the Diapontine Islands, north of the much larger Ionian Islands, which stretch from Corfu to Kythera. Next, we move again around the Peloponnese to find ourselves back in the Aegean and confronted with hundreds of islands. Together, they are collectively known as the Aegean Islands, but I will go over the more specific names starting from east to west and south to north. Crete is at the very south. Next are the Dodecanese, which include Rhodes, the Saranic Islands, the Cyclades, Euboea, the North Aegean Islands, which include Lesbos and Chios, and the Sporades. If we take a closer look at the Dodecanese, we notice the tiny Castellorizo, which leads us to our final destination in the Levantine Sea, the iconically shaped island of Cyprus. I hope you enjoyed our brief tour around the Mediterranean and learning the names of its islands. If you want to learn more about a specific or new region, or if I missed anything, please leave a comment. Thank you.